Meeting to order. It is November 2nd, 2017, and we are starting a little bit late due to our workshop. It is 7:09. The first item on the agenda is the roll call. Go ahead.
Commissioner Burks? Commissioner Crutcher?
Present.
Commissioner Lucas?
Present.
Commissioner Rainey?
Present.
Mayor Carroll?
Present.
You have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the prayer and pledge, and Commissioner Lucas will be leading us in the prayer.
If you would bow. Dear God, we just thank you for this night, God. We thank you for this opportunity one more time to gather together to make the best decisions that we can for this city. We ask that you pray for each of us on this board, the staff of the city, as well as the citizens. Be with us, guide us, and direct us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Third item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Mayor, I have one addition to the agenda. It would be under new business, would be item 12E, discuss and or take action on Veterans Memorial Park at Veterans Memorial at Evergreen Park.
Okay, yes.
And Mayor, were we not removing 12A?
Yes, I think we've had a request to remove 12A, and then also a new business, and then 11, an old business A. Is that correct?
11A, Mayor, would remain. 12A
Okay,
would be removed.
okay.
With
So
the,
there was no other remote, I was thinking there was 2 emails.
No, ma'am, we're okay.
Okay.
and with those additions and deletions, I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we got a first and second. I don't know who said it first, but any other discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing.
Second and final reading of ordinance 2017-22, an ordinance to amend a previously approved ordinance number 668 mixed-use PUD and associated preliminary master development plan from 30 lots to 47 lots located on Highway 100, tax map 42, parcel 46.01, consisting of 21.42 acres owned by Harold Cry.
Okay, is anybody here to speak on the matter? Okay, if no one's here to speak, we'll move on. Item 5, citizen comments. Okay, thank you. Item 6, awards and recognitions. Does anybody have anything tonight? Okay. 7, public announcements. I would just say, I think we have an important game on Friday night. Is it the first round of the playoffs? So I think you can get tickets at the high school for $8. So just encourage everybody to come out and support the Yellow Jackets. Staff comments. Hey, we got somebody. Come on up, Chief.
Just a couple of things. First of all, when I took office in January, one of our main goals was to push our community outreach, reaching out to the community, our interaction with them. And we've got to the point where we're starting to implement a lot of that stuff. 2018 is going to bring upon a lot of different programs that's going to offer things to the community. But one we've got now that's kind of important to us, we thought, based upon the Antioch church shooting here recently, is we're going to sponsor a proactive approach to for security for faith-based organizations. It's going to be November the 18th from 8 to 4. It'll be at the First Baptist Church there on Overby Road. We're going to pay the tuition for that. Johnny Welch, the instructor, retired from the Tennessee Police Academy as an instructor there. It's a program he's put on, and it's really trying to get some awareness to the churches, how they can set up a security program, if they have a security team, how they can do that better in a manner that it doesn't look like, you know, the Branch Davidian where they're on the roof with AK-47s or something and push people away. It's a gentle approach at that so they can help secure their facility better. We are encouraging all the churches. We've went out, tried to reach out to the churches, hand out flyers to them. We're going to put it on our Facebook tomorrow. And if you know anybody in the local churches, no matter how big or small, they can send one, they can send 15. Doesn't matter. It's open seats because we're paying a flat rate to the instructor for that. The second thing is, you know, Shop with the Cops coming up. We're about $1,500 to $2,000 off the mark. So if you know people, local businesses that generally contribute, reach out to them. We'd love their help. Yeah.
Thank you. Now, I'm sorry, one question. The deadline for Shop for a Cop already been done for citizens that need help?
December 5th will be the deadline for application.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other staff comments? Okay. And that'll take us down to approval of the minutes, and we have the consent agenda for A and B for the last commission meeting and work session.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a first and second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, old business. Item 11, second and final reading of ordinance number 2017-22.
An ordinance to amend a previously approved ordinance number 668, mixed-use PUD and associated preliminary master development plan from 30 lots to 47 lots located on Highway 100, tax map 42, parcel 46.01, consisting of 21.42 acres owned by Harold Cry. I believe I saw a representative here. Move to approve.
Okay, we got a first
Second.
and a second with Commissioner Burks. Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Collins?
Vice Mayor Crutcher,
Aye.
Commissioner Burks,
Aye.
Commissioner Lucas,
Aye.
Commissioner Rainey,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Aye.
Motion carries, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Look forward to being part of the community.
We look forward to having you. Thank you. Item 12, new business. And we will go down to B. First reading of ordinance number 20-17.
An ordinance to amend the City of Fairview Municipal Code, Title 15, Motor Vehicles, Traffic and Parking, Chapter 3, Speed Limits, Sections 3-301 through 306. Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Any discussion? Okay, if nobody has anything, Mr. Collins, roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Crutcher,
Aye.
Commissioner Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Lucas,
Aye.
Commissioner Burks,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, 12C, resolution number 26-17.
A resolution of the City of Fairview, Tennessee, establishing a portion of Cumberland Drive as a one-way street during certain hours. Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Any discussion? Okay. Mr. Collins, on this is just kind of housekeeping from where we made some of the changes.
Yes, Mayor, that's correct. What it does is establish, from an enforcement standpoint, the ability to enforce the portion of Cumberland Drive as a one-way during the school time hours that we have. Simply just installing the signs is not enough. There takes some action, and this just enforces it as a part of the ordinance.
Okay. So if we can get a roll call vote?
Vice Mayor Crutcher,
Aye.
Commissioner Lucas,
Aye.
Commissioner Burks,
Aye.
Commissioner Rainey, Mayor Carroll.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and that will give us 12D, the chamber lease of Triangle School.
Yes, Mayor. Members of the commission, as you're aware, the chamber has submitted a proposal for the lease of the Triangle School. We discussed that at our our work session tonight, the mechanics of that. We've taken notes of that. I don't think there's any debate or dispute amongst the board members that that lease will be done. However, there is some language that needs to be installed in that. Our discussion earlier tonight was that I get those notes over to the city's attorney, which we will do. We'll draft or have him draft the lease agreement pursuant to the notes that we took tonight. We'll then get that lease agreement back to the members of the board as well as the representatives from the chamber, make sure that those are all agreeable, and then bring that back to the board for some action. Again, we all agree that that item will move forward. However, we do need to get the documentation correct, and that's what we have for you tonight. So there's really no other action to be taken by the board other than the recognition of the discussion that we had at the work session.
Okay. No other comments from any of the board? Okay. That will take us to 13, and that's city manager's item. Oh, 12E, sorry. I had it over the side.
Thank you, Mayor. I had asked to add, discuss, undertake action on the Veterans Memorial at Evergreen Park. There's been some discussion for quite some time about doing a Veterans Memorial and whether that memorial needed to be at the Evergreen Park site or at some other site. I know that City Hall had been discussed, History Village had been discussed as well. I now sit on the park board as a member of the BOC. On Monday night, we had a park board meeting. Some members from the American Legion were there, and during citizen comments, they shared their thoughts about where a Veterans Memorial should go. That group has grown significantly, as I mentioned in the workshop earlier. I think they have over 60 members now. And they brought up some things that I hadn't thought about before, one of which is that the park that is out on 96 at Evergreen Lake is a bit more secluded than the History Village, that we do have a number of individuals in our community that have served in conflict, that they suffer from PTSD or some other condition as a result of their service. They felt like that having that having the space at Evergreen was more suited for individuals suffering from those conditions instead of a noisy street on Highway 100 or a memorial near a memorial near a noisy street such as Highway 100. So I had asked for the park board to make a recommendation as to what to do about the memorial and about the naming of that park at Evergreen. Being that a memorial wasn't going to be placed there, and they didn't think that a memorial necessarily should be placed there because it wouldn't have the same visibility as it would if it were here at City Hall or if it were at the Triangle School. But being that a memorial is not going to be placed there, the park board recommended that that park be changed, the name of that park be changed to Veterans Park at Evergreen Lake. So remove the memorial from it, change the name to Veterans Park at Evergreen Lake. And then that when a memorial is done, that it be done at History Village. The name of the actual park at History Village wouldn't change. I don't know that it's ever been officially named, but there would be a Veterans Memorial at History Village, and that's what that would be called. And I know there has been some information that was prepared by the Junior ROTC about what that might look like, and I think the American Legion will want to get involved in that discussion as well when the time comes to actually put the memorial at History Village. But I guess for purposes of tonight, I wanted to do two things. One, I wanted to rename, based on the recommendation of the park board, rename the park at Evergreen as Veterans Park at Evergreen Lake. The Veterans Park at Evergreen Lake. Also add signage both on Highway 96 and at the entrance to that park, so that it could be one, recognized as a park, because now there's absolutely no signage there at all. And then I guess the third part of that there would be a flagpole placed at the entrance of that park. Now, I don't know how much of that we need to do tonight other than renaming it. I know that through conversations earlier at the workshop, we need to obviously have a discussion about the cost associated with the sign, where that money's going to come from, and the flagpole. But again, I don't think that's something we need to delay very long. I think it needs to be back on the next agenda. But for purposes of tonight, I would like to make a motion that park be renamed the Veterans Park at Evergreen Lake.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Any discussion? Commissioner Burks.
Just some quick discussion. As far as the signage and having a lit flagpole, if we could go ahead and get some ideas for the next meeting, ideas of what the sign would look like, hopefully costs for those two items, because I agree with Mr. Crutcher, I don't want it to go long either. I know it's not necessarily on motion, but I just want to go ahead and get that said, because we have a bad history of saying, okay, we'll do that, and it doesn't happen, so let's make sure this item particularly doesn't go that way.
May I request sort of a hybrid of that, if I may? The flagpole is relatively simple. I think we could identify a location, a cost for a flagpole, those sorts of things. I don't think that will be difficult. Now, we would need to make sure that it has electricity available, which I'm sure it does, but we'll work there. So I think the flagpole and the requirements for the rules of the flag are easily met. The sign may be a little different animal in that we probably need to work through some sort of design, maybe get a few of those and see what those are. I don't know that we would, in 2 weeks' time, have the ability to get that design to get that back to you appropriately. I think the flagpole and the others, we certainly can. But if we're going to move forward with the signage, I think we probably need to take a little time and just maybe get some designs and cost and those sorts of things, because signs can be expensive. Not that we're worried about the dollar, but we want to make sure when we bring something to you that can be done, we can do as you said.
Well, then let's put it on the first meeting in December, just so at least we can see where we're at that point. Just for discussion, if nothing else.
Yes, sir.
And I will throw something out just from having some past experience. If it is O96, we will have to worry about TDOT and all that, and there will have to be some engineering to make sure we meet their standards.
If I understand, the sign is just simply going to be at Evergreen Lake, or is there a sign on 96 leading?
I think we need one on 96, so when people are driving up and down 96, they can actually see that there's a park there. Because when I mention this park to most people in our community, they have no idea what I'm talking about. They don't know there's anything there. Not necessarily just inside the park, but on 96 saying, hey, here's the park.
I understand. So for that purpose, are we talking about just a directional sign on Highway 96 and then a park setting type sign at the park? Or are we talking about a monument type sign on 96?
I think a directional sign that's similar to what was already there. There was already an industrial park sign there. Not, somebody said earlier that was
It's
gone.
not there.
But,
Understood.
yeah, but it was there. So something similar to that there, and then a nicer monument type sign at the park entrance with the flagpole.
Understood. We'll take care of that.
Okay, any other discussions? Okay, if nobody else has any other comments, so we're just gonna go ahead and vote on the name, and then, and the fact, do we need to vote on this signage and the flagpole? So let's take your motion, which was the naming.
My motion was just dealt with the name at this point. We'll come back in the first meeting in December with the information on the flagpole and the signs. And then also, I was going to add, at the first meeting in December, I would like to have something on the agenda to just discuss what a memorial might look like at History Village. And if we need to get ROTC involved in that, the American Legion involved in that discussion, we can at least have it on the agenda to have a discussion about what we envision that being. Is that okay?
Okay.
Understood.
Okay, so, did you have another comment on that?
No, Mayor, I'm ready to call the roll.
Okay, now that's what I was
And-
gonna call for.
And
So-
actually, it might, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it might be a good idea to have them at the workshop that night.
We'll just invite them to the work session
Yeah, yeah.
and have them there.
Okay.
Um,
So proceed with the roll call if
Vice
you're
Mayor
done.
Crutcher,
Aye.
Commissioner Lucas,
Aye.
Commissioner Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Burks,
Aye.
Mayor Carroll.
Aye,
Motion carries, Mayor. Thank you.
thank you. And that'll take us to items 13, city manager's item of discussion.
Yes, Mayor, I have a couple of items for you tonight. Mayor, members of the commission, just a couple of things. As you know, I don't do social media personally. I think it can skew your way of thinking, and there can be some interesting theories on social media. But just to clarify a few, there's been some discussion about the city's inability to plan for the purchase of a fire truck. This is the third presentation. I will try to make this presentation again as simple and clear as I can make it. The perception is the city has somehow not been able to manage to figure out how they're going to do this, and that's just not true. The purchase of the truck, as has been discussed, is $426,000. There were an anticipated $30,000 worth of capital items on the truck for a total cost of $456,000. What I provided for you tonight is a 10-year amortization at 3.5%, same as was done last time, that outlines the 10-year amortization or amortized repayment schedule of a fire truck at that rate. As we discussed at the meeting 2 meetings ago for this, the truck will not be completion. The completion date for the construction of the truck and the delivery is not anticipated to be until September of 2018. That's in fiscal year 2019 budget. As some of you know, and I'll get into this in a minute, we kind of forward project some of our budgets. This is not this fiscal year annual payment. It is a 2019 fiscal year payment. We have this amortized again out for you. And the plan right now is to do this through a 10-year lease purchase, which is fairly common in the industry. We will also offer this 10-year purchase or financing to all financial institutions that have a branch within the city limits of the city of Fairview. So we'll work to make sure that we either get a lease purchase that is favorable to us or a local lending that is favorable to us. But that's how we'll proceed moving forward, and that's our plan. there's really nothing other than that, than just where we are as far as how we're going to actually do it. Again, it's a simple, straightforward matter. This is already funded in your 2019 budget draft. I know you haven't seen that, it's early, but we work on those. So that's the plan, and it's relatively simple. I'd be glad to answer any questions on the fire truck itself. The next item I have for you tonight, just an update on the paving of King Road. That was passed 2 meetings ago at a bid cost of $72,000 and change. We are on the schedule to get that. There's no delay by the city or the contractor. It's just a matter of having them mobilize their equipment. Part of the King Road dilemma to be worked on is there's a section just past Snow Mangrum that's in pretty bad shape. Included in our $72,000 is the milling of that street. This is not simply an overlay. This is to remove all of that asphalt, as you need to do from time to time, get rid of that section, and then install the new asphalt effectively from the current location of the most recent paving, which was Snow Mangrum to Henry Drive. And that will take us there. We expect that work to be completed within the next 2 weeks. Again, we're simply on the contractor schedule as far as when we awarded the bid and the work to be done. So I'd be glad to ask any questions there, but there's no delay. They're moving forward. There's been some question about the asphalt plant closing down or it not being able to be done. That's not where we are in the process. We're just simply waiting our turn so they can mobilize that specialized piece of equipment to get us started. So just basic update on where we are on King Road. Third, there's been some discussion out there about whether or not the city has already moved forward with the purchase, construction, or somehow agreed to build a new court building. That could not be further from the truth. Again, I don't typically engage in the social media, but the theories out there can be interesting. The city, and I think this is a credit to each of the 5 of you who are seated here tonight, has come a long way in the ability to plan and make sound decisions for the city. I think we've seen that in the most recent budget that was passed. We'll move forward, and you should be commended for the work that you've done to ensure the financial stability of the city. Having said that, the purchase of a building, rumored to be somewhere between $4.5 and $5 million already under contract, simply is not true. We'll move forward. That's a big purchase that is a need for the city. We all know that. You've all toured the police department. We're out of room at City Hall, so we have to work to make some decision, but we're not working to make a hasty decision. We certainly haven't engaged in any process other than discussion as it's just been described. So if you get calls or you see things written in certain places out there, this is now where we are in the process. And again, you should be commended for your diligence in making sure that we're making sound financial decisions for the service of our citizens rather than reactionary decisions for short-term needs. The last thing I have for you tonight is just a reminder, to your credit and to the work of the staff, we work very hard to remedy some of the situations that have been discussed here tonight, where items in the past have been brought up, things passed, but they never come to fruition. So you'll know, and this relates to the fire truck, this relates to the court building and our other facilities. I and the finance department have worked very hard. We have 4 years of rolling balanced budgets. We're not required to do that. There's no expectation that we do that. But I can tell you, as we talk about police buildings, as we talk about fire trucks, as we talk about long-term expenditures, I have prepared on my computer that I can sit down at some point, particularly after the first of the year, our fiscal year budgets for 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022, in addition to the currently enacted 2018 fiscal year budget. So as we move forward, there is an effort on behalf of the city, and you're to be commended again for this and the staff for their help, that as we move forward and try to make the turn for the city of Fairview, we're doing it in a fiscally responsible manner that makes sense for the community and not making the decisions that are just rumored to be out there that just aren't true. So with that, I appreciate your time and indulging me for that. I'll be glad to answer any of those questions. Or if anyone has any questions on those, they can certainly contact City Hall or we'll follow up. With that, the only other thing I have for you is a reminder that we need to, at the end of your comments, adjourn to executive session, not to adjourn the council meeting, but just simply to engage in a executive session. The timing on that will be no more than 20 minutes. We'll adjourn the executive session, come back, and adjourn the regular council meeting, and thank you.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and move forward to the city attorney. Do you have any closing comments?
No comments at this time.
Thank you. And then Commissioner Rainey, do you have any comments tonight?
Mayor, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Lucas?
Thank you, Mayor. Real quick, I do want to say thank you to the police chief and the police department for the community outreach that they've been working hard to do. I know they were around on Halloween and making sure all the kids were safe, and the Shop with a Cop program that they're working so hard on. I'd like to, city manager, give $1,000 towards that Shop with a Cop program to help out with that. Also, just want to let citizens know that if you are trying to be a part of that, and maybe somehow you missed the deadline or something like that, Grace Works here in Fairview as well does a Christmas program, and that will be, it's called The Manger. You can see them at in Kristen down the road here at Grace Works. It is a big thing they put on. They helped about, I think, 900 families last year in Williamson County. So if you're a family in need or know a family in need around Christmas time, see them at Grace Works. But thank you again, Chief, for all you do. I appreciate it. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. And Commissioner Burks?
I'd also like to thank you, say thank you to the police department for being out on Halloween the other night. It was very nice to see y'all patrolling the neighborhoods, and I know it made a lot of the parents feel safe, and the children just love it anyway. Chief Hughes, you should get one of the fire trucks out there. You'll get a bunch of credit for it too. I do have a question for the city planner. We had talked about having a workshop coming up. Do we have any dates for that yet?
Not yet, no. Is this a workshop with the Planning Commission and the Board of Commissioners, or?
I believe that is correct.
Okay. I think we are working with the engineer to get some dates that will be amenable to both boards.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things, and I think the city manager said it beautifully, so I won't belabor it too much. But you know, I did see some of the social media stuff this weekend, in particular about the fire truck and about the court building, as it was called. You know, I appreciate citizens engaging, and of course that's absolutely their right. But sometimes being a little more informed would be helpful instead of spreading information that just simply isn't true. You know, we have a fire chief who has come to us and said, hey, we've got a pumper that has reached the end of its service life. It takes X amount of minutes for us to be able to get that thing to even roll. And, you know, that may not mean like much to you, but if it's my house that's on fire or me that's needing that emergency vehicle, then I don't want them waiting X amount of minutes to be able to roll out on a call. And, you know, and I don't want that for any of the other citizens as well, not just myself. I'm not saying that selfishly. I'm saying that collectively as a group of citizens, we need to be able to provide those services. And we have a fire chief that has come to us and said, hey, we need this. This is a need. And we're trying to be forward-thinking. We've not always done that in the past, which is why we have outgrown City Hall. This is not that old of a building. And this commission in particular is trying to do a better job of thinking, how are we going to meet the needs of growth in the future? And, you know, we have a truck that's reached the end of its service life. Things like that are going to happen. If we want to continue to be able to provide services at the level that we provide services now, you have to replace vehicles. It's the same at your house. Your vehicle doesn't last forever. We have a police department that has outgrown the basement where they have been since the City Hall was built. The court building would not just be a court building. Obviously, we have court twice a month. We don't need a building just for court. It would be a police department where court would be held. And that is something we're looking to do in the future. Not this year, not next year. And there's been no number placed on it. I've never heard for $4.5 million for the building. There's been no discussion about that whatsoever. So, again, I appreciate citizens being engaged. It's their absolute right. And I know that any of the 5 of us would be absolutely thrilled to answer any questions that you have at any time. If you hear something like that and you don't know whether it's true or not, call, email. I guarantee you'll get a response. That's all I have.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just want to also just say thanks to the police officers out on Halloween. I did get to see them in action the other day with trying to help with some traffic issues at Fairview Elementary, and I was very appreciative of them coming up because there was an issue with the car rider lines still at the elementary school, and I think there's been quite a few complaints and almost could have been a really serious accident. So the police department came to the school and just talked to the principal and the officer there and, just tried to come up with a plan. And I don't know, I was just impressed by their actions and just trying to help them resolve a problem and make it safer for the citizens that travel down that road. So kudos to your officers and just taking that initiative and trying to have some forward thinking. Sure would hate for somebody to get hit head on. And so thankful for that. And just also, I know, yes, in several workshops there has been mention of planning and future. And so just, take it in consideration, as the Vice Mayor said, is, this is, these may be discussions now, but it's not always for next budget year or today, that this is just part of the process that we have to go through as a city. And I've sat here for many years where there was no planning or forward thinking. So I have never heard of a dollar amount. I could only imagine a new building like that probably would be quite expensive. But if we don't start talking about it, thinking about it, then we're going to wake up 10 years down the road and, have no plan and not know where we're going to get the money. At least now, if we do have some of these discussions, we can be moving forward in a direction that we want to be, especially going back to fleet and, include fire trucks in that. I think so many years we have seen the fact that no one ever planned for what happens when that car breaks, and they will. And so we need to, I think the staff, the city manager has worked really hard trying to put together a plan where we know how to budget and how to plan. So anyway, just wanted to add on to that, and then we will move to executive session. Do I need to get a motion to do that? So I make a motion that we move to executive session.
Second.
I got a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ready? Okay, we are back, and so there's no other business. If I can get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Got a first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Thank y'all.